goodness.
What is up, everybody? I am Tywon Thompson, the co-leader for November Project Dallas, and I have with me today two great co-leaders that of November Project. One is in Kelowna, and the other is in Baltimore.
All right, hi. My name is Kayode Adigan, or K, as most people call me. I'm from Ibadan, Nigeria, but now I'm a Baltimorean. So, and I've been in Baltimore. I've lived in Baltimore since 1998, November 1998. Yeah, I remember that specifically because it was freaking cold when I got here. So, and I was like, coming straight from Nigeria, I did. Oh, can I say freaking? No, but. Baltimore since November of '98, Morgan, and then I'll trade down there to my brother who's in Canada.
My name is Kwame. I'm from a lot of places. I was born in Ghana, Kumasi. Moved to the States, lived in the South for a hot minute, and then moved up to Canada. I've been in Kelowna for 14 years or something like that now. I think, honestly, I can't remember. It's been a hot second.
And I'm Tywon. I'm from the States. So here we go. I'm from Virginia and moved to Texas. I mean, we are our own country now, I guess.
Almost.
I'm happy that you all decided to come on this show today. So thank y'all first and foremost for agreeing to come on. Now, I do want to go back to, I'm actually going back to both of you. Now, Kay, you said in 1998 you moved to Baltimore, and that you said you're coming straight from, where are you coming from? Where?
Straight from Nigeria. So, and so I got in college here, and then I really didn't want to come. My dad was like, "No, you're going," and I remember telling him like, "I'm not gonna do anything to come," and I just told him when to take the exams and everything. I'll take it. I'll show up for it, and I did that, and I got into college here, Morgan State. Go Bears! But that's how I got here to America. Lived with my cousins at that point, and then school, and then pretty much been in Baltimore since. Some stints in some other states, but mostly this is home.
And Kwame. So you're and you said you've been around, like, that sounds really bad, but you've actually moved around quite a bit. So like, give us a little bit of that background right there.
So I was born in Ghana, and I moved from there when I was 4 months old. My dad went to go do his PhD in the States. So I moved to Indiana, lived in Lafayette for 4 years, or however long it takes for someone to do their PhD. Finished that up, moved up to Maine, lived there for another 5 years. And then we moved down to South Carolina. So we were in Somerville, a couple of minutes outside of Charleston, and lived there for 4 years again, or something like that. And then from there, we skipped all the way from the East Coast to the West Coast, moved all the way up to British Columbia up here in Canada. Moved to a town called Salmon Arm, which is what it sounds like. In all fairness, I'll give it this. It is a very quaint area. We were a statistical anomaly, our family. So that was nice. And so we were in Salmon Arm for like a year and a half, and then we moved into Kelowna. So we've been, but even in all those places, we're moving from point A to point B a lot, right? There's a lot of movement.
Okay, so your entire family was moving with you then, like you were moving with the family. Oh, okay. So I'm happy.
Where we're at now, like my entire family's still like in Kelowna. Like we're all posted up here still.
That's awesome. Because I thought you were like, your parents moved to Kelowna and then you were born in Kelowna. That's what I thought. So.
Yo, man. Yeah, some serious misconceived notions here, fam.
I just assumed you were a second generation, like a first generation.
So that's perfect. That is absolutely perfect.
This is illuminating because I suspect that a lot of people are as confused as to my going and my coming as you two must have been. So this has been good. This is good for the people.
Oh, good. I'm happy to know that. All right, so now you're both obviously you're both a part of November Project. Yay! We're gonna talk about like how like the differences of what like this like being in Kelowna as a Black co-leader. And then also the differences like with the difference in Baltimore and you know in Kelowna, as we know that there are, you know, but like how has that changed? How has that difference or that switch been? You know what, let's just shoot to that question about the pressure, like being like that under that pressure of a Black man or whatever. Do you feel more pressure now or before or what have you? Like how is it? How is the pressure? And let's go to you, Kwame. How is how is it co-leading?
Sure. Okay. First and foremost, I'm covering a couple things up just because, you know, our dude Brooks, we love
Brand
you.
liability. You're brand liability, Kwame, like you said.
I told these boys before we started recording, I'm a marketing liability. I literally just rolled out of bed. I saw that I got a note that there was going to be a meeting at 7. It was 6:55. I'm like, I don't know what to wear. So I'm wearing a Reebok shirt and an Under Armour or a Reebok hat, Under Armour shirt. Please don't take this the wrong way. I'm very much a Brooks supporter. I couldn't find my Brooks hat like Tywon has. So I just want to get that out there first. I don't want people atting me later, being like, "Hey man, you're not with the program." You know.
I love it. I love it.
It's important to clear the air as it stands, and I can't be going this entire time. I took a lot of my developing certain pressures around being an African man. That all happened whilst I was growing up in the States, right? And there are some different dynamics between what you see in the States and what you see in Canada, and a lot of my views on how to be an African man in a predominantly non-African space was informed by how I was raised in the States, right? And my parents were, there are certain things you need to be aware of. There are certain things that you need to take into account that you will find more difficult than other people. And so I took that all. And when I came to Canada, there are, it's different in that being a person of color, especially my complexion, is more so a novelty as opposed to, in some areas, a distinct liability. But it's a double-edged sword because you have the novelty aspect of it, but with that novelty, there are certain assumptions around how you should be and how you should present yourself, which, being, college educated Black guy, like that just ain't me, right? Like this is not what. And so there was a time in my life when I first moved to Canada where there's this cognitive dissonance, right? You have what people think that you're supposed to be versus what you have been trying to be, and they keep on clashing throughout. And this is during your transformative years. That became very difficult. Flash forward to now, and it's more so, the pressure is more so a weight of your respective responsibility in pushing certain stigmas aside and pushing certain ideas about what it means to be like us forward, because you're in a position of leadership, right? And so how you go about doing that is the most pressure that I've been feeling in my leadership position. So it's slightly different from what I would suspect both of y'all have been feeling. But the pressure is still there, just a little different.
Because I was thinking of what you said about how you grew up, and because for me, like I said, I got here in '98, at that point, I was 24 years old. So my formative years were actually, actually went to college in Nigeria too. So my formative years were in Nigeria, where I don't know if any of you know the reputation of Nigerians, but
Yes.
I know Kwame does. So I know Kwame does. For context, where Kwame is from and where I'm from, we have a soccer rivalry. Like, they think they can play soccer, but they really can't. But
boss, don't start with me right now. I'm telling you right now.
But that's a whole thing. That's a whole. Can you mute him? So that's a whole other thing that exists. So, but to grow up in Africa, and especially to grow up in Nigeria, is to grow up in a place where the expectations for you are like here. Like, when people talk about school in Nigeria, like, oh, you're gonna be a doctor, engineer, accountant, like it's assumed you're gonna go to college. So there are all these things. So coming from that, so naturally growing up in that kind of place, there's a sense of pride in heritage and everything that I know that is a privilege that a lot of people don't have. Like, I remember growing up and my grandmother would greet me by reciting my lineage, like going 10 generations back or something like that. And at the time I was kind of like, Jesus Christ, you're gonna do this again this morning? But fast forward to coming here and suddenly appreciating all that and then asking, like, can you record that for me? And stuff. So coming from that to America, where the perception of being a Black man is like this whole other thing. But then also my exposure to African American culture is like, Michael Jackson, it's like all this pop culture things that, I remember you guys are too young for when I'm Black and Proud was such a big thing, I grew up around that, that was like, we took that culture that was going on in America and it was like part of us too. And, and then coming here and then experiencing that culture of like, of being exposed to like all these huge things that are African American, and then coming in and then being like, oh, for context, I'm coming from a country where it's the largest Black population in the world, in Nigeria. Then to come here where I'm a minority then. So there's that adjustment that I have to adjust to. But I felt like because of my heritage, because of how I grew up, I took it with I know who I am, and there's nothing that you can say that's gonna I challenge your prejudice. That's my attitude towards it. And then so for me, it was kind of like, but then you develop that thing where you start to know that you are the only person of your kind in the room. So that when you see somebody else who's also part of you, you have that bond immediately. It's like, oh, yeah. But you don't, it's like this unconscious thing that you don't know you're guarding yourself against. But then for me, so coming to NP and my own NP stories, that's a whole different thing. And it was like, I was welcomed well in my community, in my NP family. And so when I was asked to be part of leadership at that point, I really actually didn't want to be. But one of the things that made me do it, because usually I'm the kind of person I don't like to be upfront, but one of the reasons I accepted it was because it was one of the things where I felt like, you want to be there when all these things, when things happen, when things are being done to the community you love and you're part of, and you want to see more people of you in there too. So there's that pressure of being like, wanting to do something, wanting to represent. But then, it's a little different now, but it's like, you know, you have that pressure, like to do, you want to, first of all, you want to do a good job. You don't want to fuck up. You don't want to be the black guy that fucked up. So there's that. And then you also don't want, okay, I swear. But then you also want to do right by the people that you want to see to be part of the community. So the pressure's there, and you know, but I just feel like it's like a lot of things about being a black man in America. You know, you the pressure's there, but you just have to take it on. You know, you have no choice.
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly with what both of you said. And now, like, as you like put that into now, like, after things, the Black Lives Matter movement has become more and more aware, and like it's like people are having more awareness of it, and seeing that switch. How is that switch in either Kelowna or Baltimore? How is that? What is the dynamic now with that Black Lives Matter movement? Because I know and correct me if I'm wrong, Kay, the Freddie Gray.
Freddie Gray, yeah.
Yeah, Freddie Gray incident happened. There was a lot of commotion going on in Baltimore itself, and you know, worldwide as well. You know, nationwide as well. And I can't speak too much on it because I'm one of those that actually heard about it and knew about it, but again, it kind of got shuffled into the background or what have you, got moved to the background. And then now we have the whole George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and all these people that lost their lives recently, and now everything's coming back to surface from years ago. Freddie Gray is being, I keep wanting to say Freddie Mac, but Freddie Gray he's being brought back into the spectrum of what have you. So the Black Lives Matter movement has now become larger, and people are becoming more aware of it. And I just wonder how that has changed for either one of your cities, the November Project groups or your November Project city community. How has that changed? We'll go with, since we're with you, Kay, we're going to continue with you.
All right. One thing I mean, taking it back to like the Freddie Gray, because for if you remember Freddie Gray, before that, just before that was the place in where the water was where they had because there was another protest somewhere else near Detroit, in Michigan at that point. And then Flint, yeah. Michigan. Because that's when I remember the Black Lives Matter movement really touching off. And one of the reasons that it struck to me was because one of the organizers from Baltimore. So, and that was one of the people prominent with Black Lives Matter movement was from Baltimore. And so McKesson, I think, and I think he started Campaign Zero now. And one of the things about it is that then when Freddie Gray happened here, I mean, it was because Baltimore is a small, I mean, if you drive 30 minutes in any direction in Baltimore City, you'll get out of the city. So I know it's hard for you to get that, Tywon, because Texas, but it's like, so it's a small city. So it was kind of like the kind of place where it's happening. If the main epicenter of the Freddie Gray thing happened, like I think 2 miles away from me. But Baltimore is the kind of city where 2 miles away, it's like almost a world away. But the entire city felt it because it's kind of a thing where it touched every part of the city, and they had to bring the National Guard in at some point. Now, at that point, you could. It was like you said, those kind of things went away. In Baltimore, it kind of also went away because people want to forget these things. The difference now is that people don't want to forget, you know, because I remember back then, because it was easy back then to call the Black Lives Matter movement a terrorist organization, which was happening. Like in some quarters, it was called that. But now, when I run around the city, I can see like BLM on windows everywhere. So up to the fact that there's a BLM painting on one of the bigger roads in Baltimore City now. So, but as far as affecting, one of the things I've seen it affect the community, like our November Project community, is the amount of compassion I feel, that at least that I felt about what being what having a Black life in this country means. Like, it's also difficult to tell how much too, because, you know, we've been under quarantine, so we haven't actually met. But one of the things that I appreciated was just that not just that people were reaching out and saying like, oh, I feel your pain or anything like that. It's also the difference has been that the willingness of the people I know to like learn more. Like, this was maybe one of the most informed Juneteenth of all time for a while, because suddenly a lot of people understood what it meant. And in that understanding also comes that, oh, freedom just come on 4th of July. It's like so it's all these things that people are learning and willing to learn. Also willing to, like, because I mean, Facebook is a regular battlefield for people. So, you know, watching like exchanges people have with some other people about like, no, this is what is happening and stuff like that has been encouraging. So that's as much as I've been able to gauge it, just my personal interactions and people reaching out. And so that has been really heartwarming. And it's giving me hope that, you know, that we can actually progress this forward into something more, because I always feel like the work that needs to be done, it's so subtle, but it's so large, because it's not that we're battling like, oh, I want to be able to use that water fountain as the other guy or use the same pool. It's like saying that I want you to confront a bias that you have, that sometimes you don't even know you have, and act fairly towards everybody. So that's such a harder thing to do. And it requires that everybody learn like what life has been in the past, what life is now, and what it can be. So I'm gonna throw it back to Kwame.
That was beautifully put. That was beautifully put. Kwame, same question.
So, you know, the impact of BLM, and I guess just the concept of understanding how life is a little bit different for minorities and people of color, specifically Black people in multiple societies. In my immediate area and in Canada in general, you know, it's a little more nuanced. There isn't the same level of historical precedent that you have in the States, right? You know, 400 some odd years of slavery and whatnot. It's not the same. Now, I mean, there is a history of a Black history in Canada and there are dark periods of it, which the fortunate thing about this entire process is that people, you know, to Kay's point, people have been more willing to at least look at these things and think about them. You know, back in the day, you had more distractions, right? You had more things that took up your time that made it easier for you to say, whatever, like I got my own things, right? Nowadays, everybody's either cooped up or they have more free time than they ever did. And they feel this social weight, which forces them to be like, well, maybe I should like take a look and see just exactly what all the fuss is about. This is across spectrums, across different types of social movements, but, you know, more specifically for Black Lives Matter stuff. It's been very interesting. You know, in my immediate area, I wrote a little blog post just kind of outlining the upbringing for being an African or an African American or minority in a predominantly non-minority space is very different. And there are things that you like. There are little things that that you see and that you view in your everyday life that you're like, well, doesn't everybody kind of do this? And that's not the case. And so I tried to highlight that just to outline, it's the upbringing that a lot of us have had has shaped our perception of how we are and how we should interact in this world, rightly or wrongly. And it's important for people to understand that, because unless you understand that, you won't get where we're coming from when we say this doesn't make sense and this does. And so people's willingness to be able to engage with that sort of content, 5 years ago, that wouldn't have been a thing. So that's been heartwarming. The biggest thing for me, and kind of taking us back to responsibilities of a leader, the biggest thing for me is just being able to tell people like, yo, fam, so check this. Like you're stepping into an arena that is very complex. And there are a lot of moving pieces, and there's a 400 some odd year history, right? So you're going to try to start sipping out of this fire hydrant. You're going to break your teeth. Like there are small steps you take first, right? And it's going to take a lot of time, a lot of concerted effort to make very, very incremental small changes. But the idea is to have some semblance of consistency with that effort that you make. And that's been my biggest thing from a leadership perspective, is just being like, yo, people, like this is a long road, and I'll try to keep you on it as long as possible. But you still got to show up. And on the flip side, being a person who, being that person of color, and people referring a lot of their questions and their whatever concerns, whatever it might be, it's mentally taxing, right? Like it can be a lot sometimes. You sit there and you're like, I say this facetiously, but like you're that black dude, right? Like you become that guy. And I I only realized that. So after I did my blog post, and this is no knock on anybody, I'm so happy with the amount of people who reached out to me. But yo, fam, like my phone was blowing up for a week straight. And I'm over here, I'm like, yo, y'all gotta know some other black people. Like I don't like I'm over here, I'm calling clients and doing stock trades, and then I'm calling other people. Like, I don't know, I can't, are we talking about, what? You don't want to buy Microsoft? Like, what are you talking about, man? Like, it's a whole
thing. I think that is so real. That is so real. This is true. It's true. Like here in Dallas, that's even been the thing. Like within the NP verse, it's like we're very diverse here, but it really felt like, and I think it's because we're in that leadership role. But it really felt like I was the only person of color that that some people knew, and they were reaching out. And that's actually a really good segue to like what are like the things that we've experienced since all of that. Like since, and you brought it up, you brought it up so nicely, Kwame. You brought it up so nicely on how people are wanting to learn more, and they've been cooped up. We've been in this space, and we have no other interaction with the outside world, because not only do we have racism at its height, again, or heightened, we also have this other pandemic, the coronavirus that's out there. And so people are afraid to go outside. People are afraid to go to this place and that place and yada, yada, yada. But the thing about it is, and what we have heard, what we've seen here, is now that states and now that the countries are starting to reopen, while some other states are shutting down again, but now that we're starting to reopen, the coronavirus, there's like just wear your mask and so on and so forth. But the hashtags have started to kind of die out, So the question, there have been like many questions as to like how what's going on? Like, how does it make you as a co-leader? How does it make you feel? And these are questions that are asked to me. I'm not going to share right now because this is about y'all too. So
we're having a three-way conversation.
I like to talk, so I know when. But like those are things that are coming out now. Like, how would you tell someone, or how do I put this? How would you tell a person to, even though the hashtags aren't there, how would you tell them to do better? Like, what are some solutions, or what are some ways that people can do better? Because you hear it, just tell them, just do better. Oh, okay.
It's my favorite form of advice. It's just like, do better. Don't ask me how, just do better.
Yeah.
Figure it out. No.
Yeah.
I think it's just one of those things where, it's like I liken it to a fire. Like, I mean, I guess old day fire, not like modern fire in a cooker, but a fire flares up, it burns. So you have to feed it. You have to keep feeding it. So but it can also flame out before you need it. So back in the day, I'm not that old, I'm not this old, but back in the day, they will carry these embers, around. And then when they need a fire again, then they'll feed it again, and then you have a flame again. So, I mean, I know I was happy when all this blew up, and there was a Blackout Tuesday, there was all these things, and people were so engaged, we were in the fight and everything. But, the benefit of experience is that you see these things happen where people like burn hot, but you can't burn hot all the time. You will burn out if you burn hot all the time. So I don't mind if the hashtags go down a little bit. If the people who are, maybe it's a little more performative for them, it goes down a little bit, that's fine. But the thing is to keep the engagement going on some level where we're still, like, the embers are still there. Because the thing is just that, and I think that's part of like one of our responsibilities as leaders, is that to like still remind people, like, hey, this stuff is still going on, like this is still out there. Like, so it might seem tiresome, like, oh, this is what this person's always, but that needle, because I mean, luckily we're in 2020, it's an election year. So that needs to be, that flame doesn't need to burn so hot right now. That flame needs to burn intensely when it gets to that point, when you have to be on that poll for, like, when you have to line up for 2 hours to cast your vote. Like, that is what I want you to think about, is that all those posts, all the time, like all that all that knowing that my fellow American, my fellow human being is going through all these things. So he's like, oh, I'm making a stand for this. And the only thing we can, because at the end of the day, like I said before, like, it's a more subtle thing that we're trying to change. It's a whole way of thinking. It's a whole way of doing business in America that we're trying to change. So that requires individually, it's not going to be that, oh, we're going to elect one magical person and it's going to change all this. No, that solution doesn't exist. It never existed. It has to be that you have to tell the people that you know. You have to tell people that you know. You have to keep the flame going for those people that you know. You have to keep them going. Like, I pick 10 people. Make sure they're all right. Make sure they understand what you're going through. Make sure you understand what you're trying to get them to know. Maybe those people will tell 10 other people. I mean, that's the most I can say that I can affect people around me. It's like, you have to keep that fire going with the people around you. you also have to expand the people that's, that's in your circle. Like you have to, because we also have prejudices as Black men. Like we also have like things that I feel that we don't like. It could be a poverty line. It could be something that makes you think somebody's a little, but no, but you have to expand that. Like we also have to reach out. And that's the most I can tell people is like, you have to keep reaching out. You have to keep being compassionate. You have to be the best person you can be. You have to educate your mind, because if you don't, this world will teach you the lesson before you learn it yourself. So that's how I'll say, like, so be better. Do better.
And Kwame, have you seen or what are some of the instances where you've seen people actually do better? Like even there, other than the reaching out, because I've had people to reach out, or I think we've all had people to reach out and say, I'm so sorry, and so on and so forth. And like, so what what have you seen? Especially there in Canada, it's because it's like you stated before, it's a lot different in the States than it is up that way.
Yeah. So where I live specifically in Kelowna, it's very, very vanilla. So like there's no Neapolitan ice cream thing here. It's like strictly vanilla and then sprinklings of some other stuff. What has been nice about what I've observed, at least, outside of people reaching out and saying, various things, there's been a lot of just general awareness of, I don't want to put this the wrong way, general awareness of otherness, right? So although where I live is predominantly very much a Caucasian area, we still have like, big groups of relative visible minority types, persons of color. And before, you kind of just observe them and be like, oh, yeah, that's them and whatever it is, you go about your business. But now there seems to be more of an awareness of, oh, there are actually people that occupy the same space that we occupy. And more of an awareness around how must they feel about being in this environment, right? Before, you just assume that, oh, everybody just, oh, this stuff doesn't exist here. Oh, everything's fine, blah, blah, blah. But now people have, I think, more of an increased understanding that, yo, man, like, sometimes I'll go to like a business function or something like that. And so I live in Kelowna and I work in finance. There aren't that many brothers doing that here, right? So I'll go to a function and I'm literally the only dude who looks like me. And that can be uncomfortable, but people don't think about it for good reason. I mean, when you're not that person, why do you have to think about that sort of stuff? Now, I feel and I've observed that people have more of an awareness. They're like, oh, this is very much one-sided. How must this other person feel about that? And just even them entertaining that thought and having that discussion in their heads, and then afterward with me, because I'm that dude, I think that's progress, right? So that has been a good change. To Kay's point around, the movement and just social awareness and, likening it to a fire, I think that's very, very accurate. With a fire, when you fuel it, you can fuel it one of two ways, right? You can fuel it dirty and quick, or you can fuel it raw, depending on what type of inputs you put in, right? You have like simple brush or whatever it is, and straw or whatever it might be. That stuff burns quick, burns hot, gets things heated, and then it burns out. And all the social media stuff, that's all good and well, but as you've observed, as soon as things start to occupy your mental space and you get busier again, that stuff just doesn't hold up, right? The winds come, blows you out. Unless you are able to fuel that fire with something that's going to last for a while, right? And something that burns slow, but will get you through the night, fire goes out. And you know, I do think that the responsibility, a good chunk of the responsibility, comes from us, right? Being in a leadership position and being the actual people of color, to have consistent messaging and be consistent in that messaging on a consistent basis. It's all consistency. But on the opposite side, you know, for a leaders such as ourselves, we can't burn ourselves out either, right? You have to know, like, this is a long battle. This is an uphill thing, right? And you can't allow yourself to get burnt out. Although you will be in the most difficult position, because there's a lot of emotional weight that comes along with that. And, you know, it's good to have your support networks to be able to deal with that, but you have to know, like, it's a leadership position. You've got to have to do the leadership thing, and that's going to be a lot. But the movement and the end goal is very much worth it, and that's what we're all trying to work towards, right? Like, I mean, the entire concept, like institutionalized racism or just like generalized racism, like it's cancerous. It's fully metastasized, and you can treat it by blasting society with a shit ton of radiation. I'll kill it. That won't do you no good, fam. Right? Like, I mean, you have to be able to build a plan that's sustainable long term and treats the actual root cause of the illness. And it's not easy. It's difficult. You'll throw up a little bit. It will hurt. You'll feel sore, but you won't kill the patient, right? And I think that's at the end of the day, that's the very important bit. I don't know. I don't think I answered your question. I blacked out.
You did. It happens though. No, you did. You answered it.
Quick way to answering your question, I was just thinking about something that Kay said about, like, even amongst ourselves, we have our biases.
Yeah.
So the long-standing thing, Nigerians and Ghanaians, we have this thing about jollof rice. You want to get this with?
You're not gonna go there.
Boss.
You're not gonna go there. Like, really? Really?
I should just mute myself.
I'm curious about something. I heard this somewhere, like, recently, like, Ghanaians think they started jollof rice?
Boss, easy, okay?
Wait, say that one more time. Say that one more time. What was it, Kay?
No, Ghanaians think they started jollof rice. That's not true. I'm just saying that is not true.
Even, okay, for the sake of argument, let's just entertain the thought that we didn't start jollof rice.
Okay.
We perfected it. We have made jollof rice. We have given jollof rice the international acclaim that it deserves.
What are you talking about?
I'm telling you right now.
And there we have it, folks. The biases.
I mean, if there's any advice I'll give anyone, is to, you know, there's probably an African store in your area. There always is. It might be African / Jamaican / Indian store, but it's there, trust me. Ask them, do you know any African restaurants? So then ask for a Nigerian restaurant or a Ghanaian restaurant, whichever works for you. Get jollof rice. You'll enjoy it. It's amazing. Just do a taste test first. That's all I'm saying.
And this is to see who does it better, or
yeah, that's better. It's a different way of eating rice. Just gonna say.
Okay, so Ghanaian and Nigerian. Okay, got it.
I feel my blood pressure right now. This my heart rate. I'm heated.
I really don't know how you can think that. Right.
Yo, come on, fam. You've had Ghanaian jollof rice. Like, this isn't. You've tasted it. You can't tell me you tasted it. You're like,
It's edible. It's edible. It's edible. It's not edible. I mean, you guys are great cooks. I'm not saying you're not. I'm just saying it's not as good as the other one.
That is awesome. That is awesome. So like my next question is the last question was actually going to be, how do y'all how do you, as you put it, Kwame, not burn yourself out? And I think you both just answered it by having this little debate between.
I mean, if it wasn't something that was like had national security implications, I could treat it a little lighter. But this is what you've done. You've insulted my culture. How dare you?
Oh, really? Really? You know, it's just I just find it hard. It's just hard to believe. Like I'm the first time I literally heard this like a couple months ago, and I was kind of like, is that even a thing? Like, this is a debate? I was like, okay, it's a debate. Yes.
It's a debate.
You know what we should do? Like, there's a huge African like population in Dallas. Like, it's a so Tywon, you know, you should get the jollof rice from the 2 different restaurants, and then in our group chat you can let us know. I mean,
okay,
then you can let us know which one served you better. I mean, I will tell you this before you go to a Nigerian restaurant: customer service is not one of our strong suits. So just
I will say that. I will agree. I will agree. So there you have it, folks. I have been challenged. I've got a challenge on my hands to go to African restaurants here in Dallas. I will do that. I will do that, and I will let everybody know.
Please do. Bring light, brother.
Oh man. Hey fellas, I know it's getting to that time. We don't have that much more time left, but I do want to say thank y'all so much again for being on here, for accepting the invite, and I would love to have y'all on here again. We're doing something new. This is something different. We don't know how much longer I'll be hosting or what have you. Maybe this is just a two-time thing, or maybe we'll come back on and have someone else. But hey, keep your head up, guys. Like keep your head up, keep pressing forward. And I love how both of you, how Kwame and Kay both stated that we have to keep that flame. They keep that flame going, and we have to fuel it as leaders, not just as as Black or African American leaders, but as leaders of the November Project community. It's up to every single one of us, not just the co-leaders. It's up to every single person that is a part of November Project to get out there and really just keep that fire going. But learning more, doing more, being better, and just striving to make this world like as they say in the pageants, world peace. We would love to have world peace. Hey guys, everyone out there, I wanna thank y'all for listening. And just know that you definitely are loved, you are valued, and you are believed in. And take that with you, knowing that every single day you have the opportunity to become something new, do something new, and smile. Have a new smile, a new laugh, and make somebody cry tears of joy. With that, I bid you all adieu, and I look forward to seeing you all again, hopefully, on another episode. So y'all can do y'all sort of wave or whatnot out to them. I don't know if y'all want to wave.